Okay, guys, Rooster here in Tennessee, roostercb.com, and a little amp, or should I say, possibly partially a project going up for sale here, and we'll talk about it during the video. I'll give you a little bit of backstory on it, a little bit of context about it. But it's a single GS35B. It does run on 110 as it sets right now. I know that's kind of odd for you guys that are in the know, a tube of that size running on 110. But again, we'll get to the story behind this thing towards the end of the video. Has a voltmeter on it, which is pegged out past 2,500 volts right now, as you can see. It does have a sideband delay, which does work properly, on and off switch, and then a standby on and off here on the front. It does have two good tuners in it, and it does have a good blower that you guys can probably hear running in the video, and it forces a good bit of air. So there's some good components here. Of course, a GS35B tube with the proper transformer can do, 3 kW to 3,500 watts PEP. So it's a real good tube, Russian tube. Now, the drawbacks about this amp, I'm just going to go ahead and get into it. It needs some stuff done to it before I would feel comfortable telling somebody that it's good to run on the air, okay? It needs a tuned input. It does not have a tuned input right now. The input SWR is pretty high on it, and as a result, the amp doesn't produce the power that it would. It's not producing good power whatsoever. It's very, very inefficient the way it sits right now. Even with a 110 volt transformer, you would expect this thing to do a lot better than what it's doing right now. One reason it's not is because it does not have a tuned input on it. Now, who assembled this amp? Okay, the last person that assembled this thing, put it together, was Redbone, and I'm not going to throw off on him about it because, again, towards the end of the video, I'll explain kind of the situation, how this thing came about, and I don't really blame him for it being the way it is, but it does need some stuff done to it before it's ready to talk on. So, with that being said, you can either buy this thing look at it as, okay, I got a good cabinet, I got good tuners, I've got a good transformer, I've got a good blower, I've got a good tube, and go a different direction with it if you want to. Put something else in here with this transformer, take the tube, and build around it with something else, okay? So it's going to be a project kind of deal. Again, people are talking on stuff out there like this, but in my good conscience, I could not tell you to take this amp home and start talking on it, because you're probably going to have a failure. And the failure is probably going to happen to whatever amp you drive into it or whatever radio you drive into it, because the input SWR is not good. It's not good at all. So, that being said, I want to show you guys how much power this thing does as it sits, and then we're going to talk about how this came about. And there's a little bit of a lesson to be learned, buyer beware type thing that I'm going to talk about towards the end of this video, okay? There's the old stickers that were on it. You guys can see it had some old stickers on it. But, all right, let's get on with the show. Local pickup only on this. If you're interested in it, it will be a local pickup only cash deal. I don't want to ship this thing. All right, let's see what this guy is capable of, the way it sits. I've got my little Striker 497 out here. We've been using this to test some amps the last couple of days. 150 watts PEP and about 50 watts average. Let's see what it does. Do not be expecting a lot out of this thing, guys. 2,500 watt slug, top scale. Hello. So about 450 to 475 average. That is absolutely pitiful for a GS35B. And then PEP, top scale. Hello, audio. About 1,250 to 1,300 PEP. Okay, so that's awful. That's not good at all. Again, like I said, even on 110 volts, that's pretty weak, and it's mainly because it has a bad input SWR. I mean, look, if you guys put any kind of belief into how accurate these Striker meters are, I do sometimes, I don't sometimes. The SWR meter inside of them. But I'll put a bird meter behind this thing, and it's got a good amount of reflect coming out. So in this case, the SWR meter is probably not too far off. showing us a over a 3 SWR. So that's not good at all. Okay, so how did this come about? Basically, a local radio operator, semi-local, lives about 30 miles from here. Um, from what I was told, not going to share any names because hearsay is what it is. But from what I was told, and I tend to believe this guy, he paid a local, semi-local individual that claims to be an amp builder a substantial amount of money up front. He gave him several $1,000s to get a single or a two-tube GS35B. I don't remember exactly what it was supposed to be. It seems like it was supposed to have been a two-tube GS35B. Okay, now what this guy did that's supposed to be an amp builder, he took the money and he bought what you see in front of us here. This cabinet, this meter that is not even the right size meter, so it's probably one he just had laying around, tuners, and a transformer in it, which again is technically not the proper size transformer. It would probably be a fine transformer for a single 3-500Z or maybe a two-tube 3-500Z, but not really for a GS35B, okay? They need like an amp and a half transformer to get on down with their bad self. It's got a good blower in it. So, back to the story. I guess this is what he bought with the money he was given, the several $1,000s. Fast forward a couple years later, the guy still hasn't got the amp built for him, okay? This amp builder, if that's what you want to call him, sat on this guy's money. Well, he didn't sit on it. Obviously, he spent it elsewhere and never did produce an amp for the guy. And let me tell you something, guys. I don't want to get on my soapbox about this, but this type of crap happens all the time in this hobby, okay? Stop giving these guys all this money up front. If I could have any advice for you, if they want you to pay half, I suppose that's reasonable, but don't give it to them in cash. Because what happens is you get put on the back burner, they forget about you, and they go on to somebody else. And, it's a robbing Peter to pay Paul type of thing. And that's what happened to this guy. Again, from what I have heard, he finally got fed up with it, gave the guy an ultimatum, and went to get his stuff, and this is what he got. This was not even complete. It was a pile of parts when he went up there to get it. I think the guy had mounted the transformer in it and the tube, and that was it. So, lo and behold, he sells this to another gentleman who takes it down to Redbone and says, hey man, put me an amp together with this. So Redbone does what he does, puts it together with what he had available. I don't know why he didn't put a tuned input on it. Maybe because he just built it with what he had and there was nothing to, of course the stuff to build a tuned input's not that expensive, but that's neither here nor there. Anyway, that's the situation with the amp. It was a bad amp deal, an amp deal gone wrong that ended up, it's still a project. It's a 75% to 80% completed project, but this is still not an amplifier that I'd recommend somebody taking and talking on. I ended up with it, and I'll tell you guys, I'm probably going to take a little bit of a loss on it because of the way I ended up buying it, but that's okay. If it doesn't sell, what I'll end up doing is taking it and probably putting a couple 500Zs in it and, painting the cabinet and everything like that. Put a different size meter in it. Do a few things. Put some better switches in it. I don't care for the rinky-dink switches, the mismatching switches and everything. But it's got potential, okay? It's got some good parts in it. Parts to build amps are not cheap these days. $1,000 is what I'll take for it. I don't care to say it in the video. There's easily $1,000 worth of parts here. The tube, the transformer, the blower, the tuners, the cabinet, and again, you could take it, put a tuned input in it, and get by. It's not going to be the most efficient amp because this GS35B needs a little bit more transformer to do what it's supposed to do. But tuned input, it could probably be a 2 kW amp, 2 kW PEP at best, maybe 2,500 watts. I wouldn't put a lot of faith in it past that. that's the deal with it, guys. It's going up for sale. I'll take some pictures of it, get it listed up on the website. Excuse me, I'm getting tongue-tied this morning. Local pickup only, $1,000, cash money. It gets it for you. Somebody thinks that's too much. That's no problem. I'll take it, part it out, and do something else with it. All right, thanks, everybody. Rooster and 10, roostercb.com. See you, bye.